Well, hello. Like I was saying before, this is the next video in my series of ranking mechs. Today it will be the Raven. Today will be the Raven. So this little bird is like I said, one of my favorites because of its iconic look. So, the iconic look of the Raven, which actually looks very unique. It's got that bird-like head with the this mech was designed by Hellspawn Industries. I think that's how you say it. I'm probably missaying it, but in 3024. That's when its main production line started. The very first Raven at 1X came out, and it had promise as a unique battle mech in its electronic warfare. So this thing's made for electronic warfare. In this game, like I said, I'm going to be using MechWarrior 5 as the base. It has the improved sensors and it has UAVs, which give it an eye in the sky to help it really do its reconnaissance job. This mech is built for electronic warfare and in good electronic or reconnaissance warfare. The Raven 1X is not a bad mech for what it is. It really isn't. It is still somewhat a lackluster battle mech in that it feels like it's missing a few things that it could really utilize. In its group, but overall, it can be a nasty little mech. To get started with its offensive capabilities, the Raven 1X uses 2 medium lasers and an SRM-6. The SRM-6 is good for close-in combat, just like the medium lasers are. This mech originally used electronic warfare equipment on board. That was normal. So, the 1X is basically was a test model. So the Raven 1X was really a test bed for what House Liao really wanted from this mech. It was soon had its design stolen by the other houses. They had made some interesting designs. The 2X added a large laser, but took out the electronic warfare equipment, and so it really dropped in power. It got gained in power, but it lost in its electronic warfare design. But let's get started with its offensive capabilities. Because the Raven is a 30-ton battle mech, it cannot carry a lot of equipment, but it can carry enough. A lot of times this mech is basically going to be using SRM-6s and 2 medium lasers. Some versions, like the one I'm piloting now, has machine guns to back it up, but it did lose out in its ECMs and other equipment, because the ECMs that it was using early on were heavier, just like the Beagle, like the Probe was heavier. So its offensive capabilities really relied heavily on its lasers and SRM-6s. but it still could do a good job. Because it's not designed to go into full combat. It's designed to scout. And these little buggers right here, as you can see, it gets some of the weirdest little noses. But when you take away those systems, it leaves more room for better weapons. I created a version of a Raven that was the Panther Raven. It was basically a Raven with the same kind of firepower as a Panther, except it had the ER, or it had SRM 6s instead of SRM 4s, which the Panther has SRM 4s. So you can do a lot with a Raven in offensive capabilities, but it sacrifices a lot of the other stuff it comes with. What it was primarily used for. So offensive, it can do the job, but it really should stick to its own job. It's recon. I'm not saying that to be mean to the Raven. Like I said, I love the Raven. That's where it should stay, as a recon mech. And not really a fighter. You have the 3L, and there are other variations of Ravens that come in with knock, beacons, tag systems. All of these systems really work well with this battle mech because of its recon aspect to it. So it can do a lot of offensive capabilities with its allies. So that's where it's strongest, when it's using its allies as an offensive tool. So the Raven on its own is not an offensive beast. It can be if you set it up correctly, but not as much as. Next we have is the defensive side of this battle mech. The Raven is okay for defensive. It's got decent armor for a light battle mech. It will still lose to any heavier mechs than itself. But what really draws this is the 1X, and with the 1X, I'm even going to give it credit right there. The 1X using the ECMs and Beagle Active really give it a good, decent defense. Now, as you go into its other forms, like the 4L, the 4X, and other forms, you really start to see this mech really grow into its own. And the Capellans did an amazing job. Now, the Raven is still a light battle mech, so its defense is not going to be stopping the big hitters like Gauss rifles and things like that. It won't. But in a straight up fight against other lights, it will actually hold its own. But saying that, its armor is not the best either. There are versions that improve upon the armor, like give it ferro fibers, or even stealth armor, which is actually something that is unique. You have to have an ECM. But what really gives this mech a punishing defensive capabilities is the fact that it is built around electronic warfare. The ECM does a good job at hiding this mech. It doesn't matter if it's the original which was a normal ECM, which was just, it weighed 3.5 tons. So the mech really did not have a good stage at life at first. But overall, this mech, you can see that this mech is a good defensive tool and can be used in conjunction. Its real defense comes in its allies helping it out, though. So, to make short work of this, defensive capabilities are some of the best on par for light mechs, but still, it's still kind of lackluster. It doesn't have the armor that some lights will have. It is a 30-ton, like a Panther. It has a bit more armor, I believe. I can't think off the top of my head, but I know this the Raven is not light on armor, but it can actually still be pretty decent on armor. Though I will say one thing: the angled cockpit and the angled body structure of this mech can, and I'm going from real life, like with tanks and things like that, angled sloped armor is some of the best. And I wish in this game you could kind of take that into effect, because slope armor is actually some of the best armor, because not only is the shell hitting, but you look at the Raven. You just look at the Raven and you see all that sloped armor. There are some stuff that they can't really slope, but especially the center torso, you want that to be sloped, because when shells come in, they hit and it can have a chance of ricocheting, and that I do think it brings up its survivability. It has, in this game, the Raven has 224 pieces of armor. That's actually better than a Kid Fox, and it's kind of up there in the same kind of range as an adder, apparently. But there are some differences in some of them. Like, here's the 4X. This one's got more armor, but it has more weaponry, and it has jump jets, which really help. But I'll go into that later. This version has 161 points of armor. That's not as good. It's still better than like a Kid Fox, but the thing that really puts it over the edge is the ferro fibrous armor. So ferro fibrous, always a good choice if you want to lighten your mech and make it stronger. And then you've got the 1X. It normally does not come with double heat sinks. That is an add-on that I put on it. But as you can see, it's got the electronic countermeasures and electronic active beacon or probe. So defensive capabilities, this Raven also has 144, so it's still better than a Kid Fox, but or actually it's a little worse than a Kid Fox. But the 1X was a test, and it proved itself. So it's not the best. It's lacking in both offensive capabilities. I would say it's lacking severely in defensive capabilities, but with the electronic countermeasures, it can really be good. But like I said, it is a recon asset. It's not meant for going in and fighting. Now, getting into the last part of this mech. Mobility. The 1X is a slow for a light mech. It does kind of rank up there with other light mechs that are slow, like the Panther. But majority, this is a slow mech. It can run up to 86 kilometers an hour, and it's all due to a standard 175 engine on board this thing. In this game it says 81, but other sources I have that it says 86. Since I'm going off this game, I'm going to say it's going to be 81. And this is with its base model and most other models behind it. Now, once you start putting XL engines in, like with the 3L, that's also another problem where you're coming across with the defense on this. It has better speed, but the problem is it's got that XL engine, which doesn't make it as durable. So its speed is not going to help it. Speed's not going to help it survive. The Raven is not a very maneuverable mech. Other forms of it that bring in, like the 4X, that bring in jump jets, make it slightly better in mobility, but overall, it being a slower light mech, it's not going to survive if it gets into something like a fight with a heavier mech. Now, it can outpace heavier mechs, but if you get a mech like a Timberwolf coming at it, no. There's no chance of the Raven getting away in time. It will die. So, mobility is not a real good thing with this. Even slapping jump jets on it, it helps it a little bit, but not... It takes away from having more weaponry on board. Unless it's an XL engine, like the 3L or the 4X, or, well, I don't think the 4X has it. A good mech. But it's time for the ranking. Let's see. How would I rank this little bird? Well, I can say one thing. It's not going to be on the higher end. For its inner sphere power and ranking, I would probably put it at a 6. It's due to a few factors. One, its offensive capability is decent. But it also lacks in offensive capabilities as well. It's got... You can make this thing better. So you can make it into a Panther. But it's still not going to have the space for a lot of weaponry. For its defense, the ECM is an awesome thing to have. It is one of the best things you can have on board a battle mech. But you could practically put an ECM on any type of mech if you outfit it correctly. The Raven is not the best child example of an ECM mech. Now later on down in its line, it is. But as of the 1X and the few that are in this game, they're not really the best. I wouldn't use them unless you're just using it to have fun. So, and mobility, well, it's slow. For a light mech, it is actually pretty slow. It's not the fastest little thing out there, but I will say one thing. Even though it may be slow, it's still fun to pilot. So, its ranking for Inner Sphere is 6. As its clan ranking, this is an abysmal 4. Just for the fighting style that this mech has to do, it doesn't spark me as a mech that a clanner would use. For one thing, it relies heavily on allies to assist it. For another, it's not the type of mech that clans would like to use all that much, because it being a recon mech, it won't hold up. But I will say this. If you handed me a Raven or a Kid Fox, I'd pick the Raven just because I prefer the Raven over the Kid Fox. The Kid Fox feels weaker to me than the Raven, so that will be the end of this video. I'm still trying to get an idea of how to word these, and I don't write a script for these. I just try to talk out of it. So when I do these, I'm trying to, that's the reason for sometimes the pauses. I try to do my best and think about the mech and how it would best perform. And the rankings to these are just off mostly this game, and how I would rank them in this game. Now, because I'm using a mod and using clan mechs, I do put the clan mechs in there as a part of it, but it's not always going. If I was to use the base game, I wouldn't use the clan aspect to it. So, as for this, I'm hoping this continuously goes well, and like I said, I'm going to try to put them out every Friday. Next Friday, I'm looking at doing one of the mechs I absolutely hate, and that's in all of BattleTech, really. You'll probably be surprised that I might get some kickback for that, but you know what? I don't care. It's a personal thing. Like I said, all of these are personal things, and this is just meant to have a little fun and make fun of the mechs. Just like this one has a big nose. But I do love the Raven. It is an awesome little battle mech to use, but it is actually very low in ranking because of the flaws it has. But like I said, there's always good characteristics and there's always bad characteristics to these mechs. And the Raven didn't really get the short end of the stick. There's a mech in this that got really fucked. And personally, I don't like it, but because it got shafted real well. I might do that one after the next mech. So, I'm hoping to do more of these, and I love doing these. These are fun to do. This is just me shit-talking these mechs. But you know what? I'm having a little fun with them. They're goofy looking, but to be honest, this universe, the stories in it, are more human than any stories in science fiction. And that is what really brings this game to me. Is the science fiction is more human. There's no aliens in this setting. There's no. The closest thing we have to an alien is the Clanners, and they're still human. Now, some people might debate on that one, but to me, that's nor here nor there. They're still human. So this setting is all human, and it is one of the best series, and I freaking love it. The mechs are fun. The mech designs are fun. Yes, there are some designs that are probably recreations of past shows, but these mechs are an awesome host to a universe that is extremely popular. Or I can't say popular. Um, Extremely niche market. So I'm happy you came here. If you watched this all the way through, thank you so much. I know my talking is not the best in these because I don't know how to word everything. I should write scripts, but I feel that that wouldn't be genuine to me. So I will just talk the way I normally talk and try to think of what to say. I do have something that's set up to where I know the places that they're made, what their weight is, what weaponry, and I use like here I use this to help show. But this is not so. Thanks for being um, listening more so, and I hope you have a great day, and see you next week. And see you when I stream. Laters.